It's here. The thing I warned you about. The thing we all knew was coming but never fully prepared for. We talked about it in whispers, we shared our doubts. But the truth is, deep down, we always knew, and now it's right in front of us. Undeniable, real, and standing firm. This isn't just any event, this is a turning point. A crossroads that will define what comes next, not only for us but for generations after. You felt the uncertainty creeping in, didn't you? The slow, steady shift that signaled something was on the horizon. But today the wait is over. Today the future is knocking on the door, and we have to decide how we respond. We've lived through so much challenges that seemed impossible, moments where we doubted if we could ever move forward. And yet here we are, standing at the edge of something greater. It's not just about what's arrived, it's about what we do with it now. We have a choice, and that choice will determine whether we become the victims of this change, or the architects of something far bigger than ourselves. There is no turning back now. What's here is not just a force, it's an opportunity, a test of our resilience, our unity and our vision. Let me be clear, we cannot afford to sit back and wait. This is the moment we step up. This is the moment we show that we are ready for what's next. What's here today may have seemed like a distant dream, but it is now our reality, and this reality demands action. So, no more hesitation. No more waiting for someone else to make the first move. We've seen this moment coming for a long time. Now that it's here, it's our turn to make it ours. The question is no longer if we can do this. The question is, how will we rise to the challenge before us? The time is now. Let's act. We've been talking about it for years. Whispering in corners, speculating in meetings, predicting in private conversations. And yet, we all knew deep down that this moment was coming. We could feel the ground shifting beneath us, hear the distant rumblings of change. It wasn't something that would remain hypothetical forever, it was inevitable. And now the time has come. It's here. What once seemed like a distant possibility, a vague vision of something that might happen one day, has become our present reality. And there's no escaping it now. The change we expected is no longer a concept. It's our lived experience. There are moments in history when things begin to shift, so slowly that we don't even notice, until the tipping point arrives. And then when it does, it feels as if everything has changed overnight. We've been living through those moments for a while now, haven't we? The signs were there, subtle at first, easy to dismiss, maybe even ignore. But over time, those whispers grew louder, the signs clearer, until the inevitable became undeniable. It is here, and there's no pretending otherwise. When we reflect on the past few years, we see that what we once considered unlikely or far off is now a present-day reality. Whether we're talking about the rapid pace of technological advancement, the shift in political landscapes, the climate crisis, or even the global interconnectedness that has changed how we communicate, work, and live, the signs were all around us. They were there if we were willing to pay attention, and we knew on some level that this day was coming. Yet, there's something human about how we operate in the face of the unknown. We resist it, push it aside, and try to continue with our routine as though nothing has changed. Even when we know something is inevitable, we don't always acknowledge it until it's in our face, demanding our attention. Now that it's here, we can't deny its presence. It's impossible to ignore the changes unfolding before us. The comfort of the familiar is slipping away, replaced by the need to adapt, to understand, to make sense of a new reality that's demanding to be reckoned with. It's no longer a hypothetical future. It's the present, the world we knew, the systems we trusted, and the expectations we had. They are no longer enough to hold us up. The status quo is being replaced with something that requires us to think differently, act differently, and perhaps even be different. But here's the thing, just because it's here, doesn't mean we're ready for it. It doesn't mean that we fully grasped the extent of the change, or understood its implications. In fact, the very fact that we've been talking about it for so long, the fact that we've known it was coming, may have lulled us into a false sense of preparedness. We may have thought that by talking about it, by predicting it, we were somehow getting ready for it. But this is the trap. The truth is, predicting the future is not the same as being prepared for it. Just because we saw the signs doesn't mean we fully anticipated what it would look like when it finally arrived. And yet here we are, standing at the crossroads of the inevitable. The future we've talked about, the one that once seemed so distant and abstract, has now materialized, and it's up to us to navigate it. The question is no longer about whether this day would come. It's about what we do now that it has. Will we stand still, caught off guard by something we've known was coming? Or will we rise to meet the challenge, equipped with the foresight, the wisdom and the courage to shape the future we've entered. This is the crux of the situation. It's not enough to say that something was coming. We must acknowledge that it has arrived. And with that arrival comes the weight of responsibility. The responsibility to make sense of what's happening, to decide how we will respond, and to take ownership of the future we are now living in. We cannot look back and wish for the time when things were simpler, or when we could deny the changes that were quietly taking root. That time is over. The change is here, and now it's on us to determine what kind of future we will create, with the reality we face. This is what it means to truly be in the present, to recognize that the future has already arrived, and now it's our job to make it work for us. We must stop waiting for someone to tell us what to do, or how to proceed. We have the information, the tools and the insight. What we need now is action. We have to decide if we are going to be passive spectators of the change, or active participants in shaping it. We've been waiting for this moment for a long time, and now that it's here, we must act decisively. We can't afford to be paralyzed by the weight of the change, or overwhelmed by the fear of what lies ahead. It's time to embrace what is unfolding before us, not with hesitation, but with the readiness to face the challenges, the unknowns and the opportunities that come with it. We've talked about this for long enough. Now we must live it. The inevitable is here. The question is, what will we do with it? This is it. This is the moment we've all been waiting for, whether we realized it or not. It's here, this pivotal moment, that will forever change the course of history. A moment so significant, so crucial, that it will not only determine the future we experience, but it will also lay the foundation for the lives of those who come after us. This isn't just a turning point for our generation. It's a defining moment that will echo through the ages, shaping the world in ways we may not even fully grasp yet. The choices we make now, the actions we take, and the attitudes we adopt will be the blueprint for the future, for both ourselves and the generations who follow. What makes this moment so important is not merely the change itself, but our response to it. Change is inevitable, but it's how we decide to react to that change that will define us. It's easy to be swept along in the current of events, allowing ourselves to be passive passengers in a world that seems to be moving faster than we can keep up with. But this is not that kind of moment. This is the moment that demands our full engagement, our undivided attention, and most importantly, our collective will to make something meaningful out of it. When we look back on history, we often define entire eras by the choices made in moments like this one. Think of the great revolutions, the social movements, the technological breakthroughs, the wars and the peace treaties. All of those moments, pivotal as they were shaped by human decisions. At the core of every major turning point in history lies the same question: how will we respond? The trajectory of civilizations, the rise and fall of empires, the breakthroughs in science and technology, all of it hinged on how people responded to the changing circumstances of their time. Now it is our turn. We are standing at the crossroads of history, facing a moment that has the potential to reshape everything. The challenges we face today are unlike anything we have ever encountered before. We live in an interconnected world, where what happens in one part of the globe can have immediate and far-reaching effects on the rest. Technology is advancing at a pace that was unimaginable just a few decades ago, and with it comes the promise of both great opportunity and great disruption. Social, economic, and political structures are being tested, torn down, and rebuilt in real time, as we witness the growing power of the people to demand change. And at the same time, we are grappling with deep global crises, climate change, inequality, health pandemics, and political instability that threaten the very fabric of society. But here's the thing, every challenge we face also carries with it the seeds of opportunity. This moment, for all of its complexities and difficulties, is also ripe with potential. The question is whether we will seize that potential, or let it slip away. History is not written by those who stand idly by, watching as events unfold around them. History is made by those who take action, who understand that the future is not something we inherit passively, but something we create actively, together. The truth is, this moment could go one of two ways. We could allow ourselves to be paralyzed by fear, overwhelmed by the enormity of the challenges before us. It's easy to fall into despair, to feel as though the problems are too vast and too entrenched to be solved. But that is the path of stagnation, the path of missed opportunities. We have a choice, and it is a powerful one. We can decide that this moment will be one of transformation, one of reinvention, and one of progress. But to do that, we need to move beyond mere survival. We need to take this moment and use it to redefine what is possible, to build something stronger, more resilient, and more inclusive than what came before. It's important to remember that change does not happen in isolation. The choices we make today will impact not only our own lives, but also the lives of those who will come after us. Every generation inherits the work of the one before, and every generation has the responsibility to leave something better for the next. This is our responsibility now. The world we pass on will be shaped by what we do in this moment. Are we going to leave behind a world that is fractured and divided, one that failed to rise to the challenges it faced? Or are we going to leave behind a world that, while imperfect, was made stronger, more just, and more sustainable, because of the actions we took today? This moment calls for more than just vision, it calls for action. It's easy to dream about what could be, to imagine a better future, but the true measure of this moment will be whether we have the courage and the conviction to make that dream a reality. The clock is ticking. Every day that passes is one we cannot get back, and every decision we make has consequences that will ripple out into the future. The actions we take or fail to take will shape the world for years, decades, even centuries to come. So, what will it be? Will we step up to the challenge, recognizing the immense responsibility we carry? Or will we let this moment slip away, unrecognized, uncelebrated, and unfulfilled? This is not a time for hesitation or indecision. It is a time for boldness, for taking risks, for embracing the unknown with the belief that we can shape it to our will. It is a time for leadership, for collaboration, for innovation, and most of all, for hope. The future is not a predetermined path, it is a series of choices, and the power to make those choices lies in our hands. This is a defining moment, and it is up to us to decide what kind of world we will create from it. The history books are still being written, and it's our turn to make sure our chapter is one of courage, resilience, and transformative action. The question is no longer what is happening, it's what will we do about it. This is our moment to define the future. Let's make it count. We've all known it was coming, even when we tried to ignore it. Even when we convinced ourselves that everything was fine or that we had more time, deep down we felt the shift. It wasn't something we could easily articulate, not at first, but it was there, creeping into our thoughts, unsettling our sense of security. The signs were subtle, almost imperceptible, like a faint tremor before the earthquake, whispers of uncertainty in the air, an undercurrent of change that nobody could quite define but everyone could feel. There were moments when we tried to push these feelings aside, to continue with our routines, to convince ourselves that everything would be okay. But those whispers grew louder, the signals clearer, and now here we are, facing the undeniable truth. We are living in a time where change is no longer a distant possibility, it's a present reality, and the truth we've been avoiding has arrived with all its weight, demanding our attention. The uncomfortable reality is that we were never as in control as we thought, and the world around us is not as stable as we imagined. This moment, this shift, is not something that happened overnight. It has been building for years, slowly, almost imperceptibly. It's been there in the air we breathe, in the stories we hear, in the things we read and discuss. But we've avoided fully confronting it, partly because the truth was too overwhelming, partly because we didn't want to acknowledge that things were changing in ways that we couldn't control. For years we've heard the warnings talk of climate change, political upheaval, economic instability, and the rapid advance of technology, disrupting everything we once took for granted. We've been told that the world is moving too fast, that society is becoming more divided, that our systems are no longer functioning the way they once did. And yet it was easier to dismiss these warnings. Easier to think that someone else would fix the problem, or that we could somehow avoid the worst of it. We've all been guilty of pretending that the future would just unfold as we hoped it would, with a few bumps along the way but nothing catastrophic. But the reality is much harsher, and now we are forced to reckon with it. The truth is that we saw the signs, but we didn't want to believe them. We saw the warnings in the headlines, the protests in the streets, the natural disasters, the political turmoil. We heard the rising voices of people demanding change, of communities calling out for justice and equality. And still we believed that those problems were for someone else to solve, or that they were isolated incidents that didn't truly affect us. We dismissed the slow erosion of the systems we've relied on, believing they were more resilient than they really were. And now all of those things we tried to ignore are right in front of us, undeniable and unavoidable. Now we face the truth head on, and there's no pretending anymore. The signs we ignored have crystallized into something we can no longer escape. The future we feared is here. And it's no longer a matter of waiting for it to arrive. It has arrived and we have to confront it. The systems that once provided stability and security are faltering. The economy, the environment, our political structures, everything that seemed so dependable not long ago is now being tested in ways we never anticipated. And the question that hangs over us all is this: what will we do about it? This is the pivotal moment when we can no longer deny that the world is shifting. It's easy to live in denial when things are comfortable, when everything seems predictable and under control. But once the truth is staring us in the face, we are forced to reckon with it. The problem now is not the change itself, it's our response to it. We've been given a window to act, to make choices that will determine how we move forward. But the longer we wait, the harder it becomes to course correct. The truth is that time is running out, and the future we face will be shaped by how we respond today. It's not just the large global shifts that are forcing us to confront the truth. It's the personal recognition that we are all part of this. We can no longer point fingers or wait for someone else to take responsibility. We are part of the system, part of the problem, and part of the solution. The truth we face is not just about external circumstances. It's about our own complicity in allowing things to get this far. It's about our own role in perpetuating systems that no longer serve us or the planet. We can no longer blame others for the state of the world. We must look inward and take responsibility for our own actions, decisions, and failures. But while the truth is undeniably harsh, it's also liberating. The moment we face the truth is the moment we are given the power to change it. Denial only holds us back. It keeps us stuck in the past, in a version of reality that no longer exists. But when we accept the truth, we free ourselves to act, to innovate, and to create new possibilities. The shift we feared is not the end. It's the beginning of something new, and while the future may be uncertain, it's also full of potential for those brave enough to embrace it. The truth is that we've always known this moment was coming. It's just that we didn't know when or how it would arrive. And now that it's here, we have two choices. We can either continue to deny the reality of the situation and hope it somehow resolves itself, or we can face it head-on, with courage, clarity, and determination. The time for ignoring the signs is over. The truth is here, and it's undeniable. The only question that remains is, what will we do now that we know it's real? We are standing at a crossroads, a place where history is made, where every choice we make carries with it the potential to alter the trajectory of the future. For many, what lies ahead may seem daunting, overwhelming even, but I want to remind you of something critical. It's not just a challenge, it's an opportunity to do something different, to rewrite the story and to emerge from this moment stronger than ever before. Yes, it's true that what's happening now demands our attention, our action, and our commitment, but it's just as true that we don't have to be passive victims of this moment. We have the power to shape it. We have the ability to take control and redefine the course of our future, not merely react to what's unfolding around us. Challenges are often seen through a lens of fear. We think of them as obstacles to overcome, as roadblocks to our success, and we immediately begin to prepare for struggle. But when you stop and truly think about it, every challenge holds the potential for growth. Every hardship is an invitation to rethink what's possible, to stretch the limits of our creativity, to ask ourselves the hard questions, and to come up with better answers. It's easy to look at what's happening today and feel like we are at the mercy of forces beyond our control. But that's only half the story. The other half, the more powerful half, is that we are not powerless. We have the ability to respond. And that response can be one of transformation. The truth is, when faced with a challenge, we're given a rare opportunity to step outside of the normal patterns and routines that have defined us up to this point. It's like waking up from a long sleep and realizing that the world has changed while we were unaware. We are given the chance to reevaluate everything. The systems we've built, the ways we've been operating, and the assumptions we've made about what is possible. That moment of awakening is where opportunity lies. If we only focus on the difficulty of the present, we miss the bigger picture. The world is in flux, and in that flux, new possibilities emerge. Consider the technological innovations that have shaped the past century. Most of them were born out of necessity. The world didn't wait for solutions to come along. It forced the hand of humanity to create them. The airplane, the computer, the internet. These weren't just random inventions. They were responses to a challenge, to a need. And what did these innovations do? They redefined what was possible. They created entirely new industries, new ways of thinking, and new ways of living. The challenges that faced us were met with action, with vision, and with the belief that things didn't have to stay the same. It's a powerful reminder that in every challenge there is a chance to innovate, to adapt, and to grow. Right now, the challenges we face are just as significant, just as daunting. We face global issues like climate change, political instability, and economic inequality, each one a massive and complex problem. On the surface, it's easy to feel small in the face of such immense forces. It's easy to get discouraged, to feel like no matter what we do, the problem will always be too big. But that's where we have to change our mindset. These problems, as daunting as they are also opportunities. They are the open doors to new ideas, to breakthroughs we've never considered, to fresh perspectives on how we interact with the world and each other. They invite us to rethink how we live, how we work, how we govern, how we care for the planet. Take climate change, for example. Yes, it's one of the greatest challenges of our time. It's overwhelming, and it often feels like the clock is ticking too fast for us to make the necessary changes. But within this challenge lies an incredible opportunity to reimagine energy, transportation, agriculture, and manufacturing in ways that are sustainable, equitable, and innovative. It's not just about reacting to environmental degradation, it's about creating a new, cleaner, more resilient way of living on this planet. In this process, we can build new industries, create jobs, and forge a path to a more sustainable future. The challenge is daunting, but the opportunity to reshape how we interact with our world is unparalleled. And this is where the real power lies. We don't just have to react to the challenges in front of us. We don't have to be passive participants in a world that is changing rapidly. We can take the initiative to shape what comes next. This is the moment to be bold, to think beyond the limitations of the present, and to embrace the discomfort of change as the catalyst for progress. The world is not static, and we are not bound by the status quo. What we do now will set the course for everything that follows. Consider the incredible advances we've seen in technology, communication, and medicine over the past few decades. These changes didn't happen by accident. They happened because people dared to look at a challenge and say, there must be a better way. They took risks, made mistakes, but ultimately they pushed humanity forward. And now it's our turn. The challenges we face today may seem overwhelming, but we must remember that this is an opportunity to rethink everything, to create something new, something better, something that lasts. What we're dealing with now might seem like a crisis, but a crisis is just another word for a turning point. A moment when the world demands something new. We have the opportunity to build a future that works for everyone, not just a few, to create systems that are more just, more equitable, and more sustainable. It's an opportunity to innovate in every area of life, education, healthcare, governance, technology, and beyond. The question isn't whether we will face challenges, it's whether we will take them on with the understanding that these are the very moments that define our future. So instead of retreating from the challenges ahead, let's embrace them as the invitations they truly are. Let's use this moment as an opportunity to shape the world we want to live in. We don't have to wait for someone else to lead the way. We have the power to create change, to transform the world from one of reactive survival to one of proactive innovation. The future isn't something that just happens to us. It's something we create, together. And it starts now. The challenge is real, but so is the opportunity. It's up to us to decide how we'll meet it. The clock is ticking. Time as we know it waits for no one, and right now we are at a critical juncture, an inflection point, where action isn't just necessary, it's urgent. We can no longer afford to sit back and wait for someone else to take the first step. The moment to act is here. This is not a time for hesitation, indecision, or passive observation. The world is changing faster than ever before, and the question we face is not whether we are ready, but whether we are willing to rise to the occasions. This is our moment, our chance to make a difference, to step up and take charge of what's coming, or risk being left behind in the wake of an inevitable transformation. For too long, we've stood on the sidelines, watching as events unfold around us. We've heard the warnings, read the headlines, and witnessed the shifts happening in every corner of the world. Whether it's the rapid pace of technological advancements, the growing inequality within our societies, or the global environmental crisis that threatens the future of the planet, we've all been aware of the need for change. But instead of taking decisive action, we've been waiting for the right time, the right leader, or the right circumstances to make the first move. We've been waiting for someone else to lead the charge, to tell us what to do, or to show us the way. But here's the truth. That waiting game is over. The time to act is now. There will never be a perfect moment when everything aligns just right. We can't afford to wait for the stars to align, or for someone else to take the first step. The future is being written in real time, and we have a hand in shaping it. The decisions we make today, the actions we take right now, will set the course for everything that comes after. Waiting only leads to lost opportunities, and in this moment, every delay costs us something precious. What we face now is not just a singular problem, but a series of interconnected crises that demand a comprehensive, immediate response. Climate change isn't a distant issue. It's here, it's now, and it's accelerating. Political systems across the globe are becoming more fractured, more polarized, making it harder for meaningful change to take hold. Economic systems that were built for another time are faltering, leaving millions behind. The challenges are vast and complex, but the reality is clear. No one is coming to solve them for us. The responsibility falls squarely on our shoulders. We have to confront a harsh truth. The longer we delay, the harder it will be to change course. Waiting means more lives lost to climate disasters, more opportunities lost to inequality, more systems eroded by division and inaction. We can no longer look to the past for solutions, nor can we keep waiting for someone else to provide the answers. The world is shifting, and we must respond decisively, urgently, and together. This moment calls for leadership, for people who are willing to take risks, to challenge the status quo, and to fight for a better, more just future. Leadership, however, doesn't always look the way we imagine it. It's not always about being the loudest voice in the room or waiting for a title. Leadership is about action. It's about doing what needs to be done, whether or not the spotlight is on you. It's about recognizing that the world is not a passive entity. It's a dynamic, ever-evolving space that requires us to meet it with intention and purpose. Everyone has a role to play, whether you're an entrepreneur, an educator, a community organizer, a parent, or just an individual who wants to see change. You have the ability to lead in your own way. It doesn't take permission, it takes action. What we do now will determine whether we rise to meet the challenges of the future or fall victim to them. This is not just a fight for survival, it's an opportunity for transformation. But transformation doesn't happen by accident. It's not something that comes without effort, without planning, and without courage. It requires bold steps, steps that sometimes feel uncomfortable, that may seem uncertain but are absolutely necessary. Inaction is the true enemy of progress. For those who are hesitant or unsure, it's important to remember that waiting for certainty before acting is a trap. The future is inherently uncertain. If we wait for perfect clarity, for a crystal clear path, we will be waiting forever. The most successful leaders, the most impactful change makers, are those who make decisions in the face of uncertainty. They understand that it's not about having all the answers, but about taking action, gathering information, adjusting course when needed, and staying committed to the goal. The first step is often the hardest, but it's also the most important. Once we take that first step, the rest will follow. We must also acknowledge that the time to act is not just about large-scale initiatives or grand gestures. It's about everyday choices, the small things that add up over time. It's about how we choose to engage with the world, how we invest our time, our resources, and our energy. The time to act is now, and every action counts. Whether it's advocating for policy change, reducing our environmental footprint, standing up for social justice, or simply starting a conversation with someone who doesn't yet see things the way we do, each action ripples out and has a bigger impact than we realize. The longer we wait, the more entrenched the problems become. The moment to take charge, to shift the trajectory, is right in front of us. It's within our power to rise to the occasion and take that first step, whether that's in our personal lives, in our communities, or on a global stage. The truth is, we are all in this together. And while the scale of the challenge may seem daunting, we cannot afford to sit back any longer. The moment to act is now, and it is up to us to decide what kind of world we will create. History is full of moments where a single decision, a single act, changed the course of everything that followed. Today is one of those moments. It's up to us to rise, to lead, and to shape the future we want to see. We cannot afford to wait. The time to act is now. The question is, what will we do with it? The world is shifting before our very eyes. It's undeniable, unavoidable, and irreversible. But here's the catch. This moment isn't just a set of circumstances we have to endure or survive. It's a call to action. It demands more than just a reaction from us. It requires that we become the architects of our own future. There's no escaping this truth. The world is changing, and we are standing at the crossroads of a new era. The question is no longer whether change is coming, it's how we will respond to it. Will we sit back as passive observers, watching events unfold with resignation and fear, or will we rise to the occasion, take responsibility, and actively participate in the creation of the future we want to live in? For far too long, many of us have allowed ourselves to be swept along by the currents of life, assuming that we are powerless in the face of global challenges. We look at the world's problems, whether it's climate change, social inequality, political division, or economic instability, and we think to ourselves, what can I do? I'm just one person. But that kind of thinking is a trap, a mindset that keeps us from realizing the true power we have as individuals and as a collective. The reality is that we are not helpless. We are not passive bystanders. This moment, this time of disruption, offers us an extraordinary opportunity, the chance to take responsibility, to shape our world and to steer it in a direction that reflects the values we hold dear. Responsibility isn't just about addressing immediate needs or reacting to crises. It's about owning the future. It's about understanding that every action we take today has far-reaching consequences for the generations that will follow. We are not only responsible for our own lives, but also for the world we are leaving behind. When we look around us, it's clear that the systems we've relied on for so long, our political, economic, and social structures are fraying at the edges. They're struggling to adapt to the rapid changes taking place in the world. And yet, instead of succumbing to fear or frustration, we must recognize that these challenges represent a pivotal moment in history. It's not just about navigating a crisis, it's about creating something new, something better, from the very disruptions we're witnessing. This moment demands that we step up, not as passive recipients of whatever comes next, but as active participants in shaping it. We must choose to take the reins of our future rather than simply letting the world dictate our course. We must recognize that our voices, our actions, and our choices matter. While it may seem overwhelming, the truth is that the collective efforts of individuals, communities, and societies can and have transformed the world. Whether it's through the social movements that have reshaped our governance, the technological innovations that have revolutionized industries, or the cultural shifts that have challenged norms, change has always been driven by people who refused to accept the status quo. People who understood that they had the power to shape their own futures, even when it seemed impossible. The question is not whether we can make a difference, it's whether we will. It's easy to feel as though the weight of the world is too much for one person to bear, but history has proven that change begins with individuals. We don't have to wait for someone else to take the first step. We don't have to wait for the perfect circumstances, the perfect leader, or the perfect solution. What we have is right now, the present moment, and it is filled with infinite possibilities. What we choose to do with this opportunity is entirely within our control. But the path forward is not one of passive waiting. It requires action, intention, and a willingness to embrace discomfort. True change often comes with resistance, not from others necessarily, but from within. It requires us to step outside of our comfort zones and challenge the norms that we've accepted for so long. It requires us to unlearn old habits and make space for new ideas, new solutions, and new ways of thinking. This is not easy. It requires courage, conviction, and resilience. It requires the willingness to face uncertainty and navigate the unknown. But it is only through such action that we can create a future that reflects the values of justice, sustainability, equality, and progress that we know are so urgently needed. We cannot afford to be passive spectators. As the world unfolds, the consequences of inaction are too great. For those of us who are watching from the sidelines, it might feel safer to do nothing, to sit back and hope that things will work themselves out. But this is a false hope. The world is moving whether we choose to participate or not, and if we remain passive, we risk being swept up in the current without any say in the direction it takes. The time for waiting is over. The time to act is not. What we need is a shift in perspective, one that sees us not as helpless victims of circumstances, but as active creators of our own destiny. Every one of us has a role to play in this moment. The first step is to recognize that we are not waiting for change. We are the change. We don't need to look to others for inspiration or leadership. We are capable of leading ourselves. Each individual choice, each small action has a ripple effect. Whether it's advocating for a cause you believe in, challenging the status quo, educating yourself and others, or simply being more conscious of how your actions impact the world around you, everything matters. And collectively these actions will add up to something much bigger than the sum of their parts. We must embrace our responsibility with urgency and determination. The challenges before us may seem daunting, but they are not insurmountable. The future is not something that just happens to us, it is something we can actively shape. This moment calls for us to rise to the occasion, not as passive observers, but as active participants in the change that's unfolding before us. The question is, what will we do with this opportunity? The time for waiting is over. The time for action is now, and it's up to each and every one of us to answer the call. Will we take responsibility for the future we want to see? Or will we sit back and let the world decide for us? The choice is ours.